Welcome to what is probably going to be a very long video detailing the detailing process on this 2000 BMW E39 M5 using ZAINO products. Spring is certainly upon us. It's about 65 degrees. Today's a little cloudy, but it is time to clean up the pollen, the rest of the winter debris, and all the crap that's gotten on this car over the last 5,000 miles through miserable weather. We're going to get down to the mess here, taking a look at the fender and the rocker down there. It's pretty dirty. Not actually too bad from spring though. You can actually still see what I have right here. We're going to go over the products that I'm going to be using for this job, but you can still see the reflection of those products in the paint. That's because last spring I did essentially this same process over the entire car, and that ZAINO application has actually held up pretty well. But we're definitely going to be restoring that. So here's what we're going to be using. Today is actually Tuesday. This is going to be a multi-day process for me. I'm going to use the ZAINO Claybar Z18 along with the ZAINO car wash concentrate to just wash the car normally with that. If you're doing this for the first time, I would highly recommend using some standard dishwashing detergent, Dawn, whatever you have on your kitchen sink. Reason why, that's actually going to strip off all the existing wax that you have on the car. Who knows how many different products, what kind of crap from Walmart people have used on there over the years, and that'll take all of that off. Don't make that a normal habit. It's far too abrasive for normal use, but it will get rid of the wax for this time. But since I already did that last year, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use this stuff here. And then from there, we're actually going to mix up a I have an extra one of these Z6 containers. I'm going to take this, fill this with water, add about a cap full of the Z7, and that's going to be our lubricant for the ZAINO Claybar. But that's going to be in a little bit for me. I'm going to wash the car first. If you're doing this for the first time, use the dishwashing soap. Don't dry it afterwards. We're going to go straight onto the Claybar. Much later in the video, we're going to be using the different waxes. I'm going to be using two, Z2 and Z5. You want to make sure that Z2 is your final coat. Whether you use that in the beginning too is up to you. We've got a spider there on the Z5. We'll have to deal with that. But I will probably be going Z2, Z5, and then Z2 again, and then finishing it up with Z8, the grand finale. In between car washes, even if it's a little dusty, a little bit of rain, not much road debris, you can actually just wash the car with this, with the Z6, using that as your lubricant, instead of washing and soaping the whole thing and making a big mess for you to have to dry off later. To accelerate the effects of drying and curing, we're going to be using this. This is ZFX, Special Effects Accelerator. There's a vial of the accelerator in there that we mix in with the wax, and these, I think they're 4-ounce tubes there. Again, that's going to be tomorrow, but I'll be detailing that process later. Anyways, right now we're just going to wash the car standard with, I said before, I'll be using the Z7. You guys, if it's your first time, you might want to use your dishwashing soap. But there's my Z7. I'm going to get started. Okay, we are maybe 45 minutes in. Car has been washed and rinsed. At this point, regardless of which type of soap you used, we're actually not going to dry it off at this point. We're going to grab our ZAINO Claybar, which I think I moved over here, and we're going to mix up our, there it goes. We're going to mix up our lubricant. Using some sort of a spray bottle, if you have extra ZAINO bottles, I mean, that's perfect. And I happen to have those. If not, try to find something fairly similar. This happens to be 16 ounces. The recipe is 12 ounces of water and a half cap full of the ZAINO Z7 soap. I'm going to use 16 ounces and almost a cap full, and I probably will go through 2 of those. The idea is we're going to spray this on the paint, then run the Claybar over it, which I will show you soon. Well, we do the actual Claybar process since we're leaving the car wet, regardless of if you're in the sun or shade or whatever. It's going to start drying on us. It's going to look like hell. That's all right, because after we're done with going over the car with the Claybar, we are going to actually wash it again using the Z7 soap. Of course, this time is going to be a lot easier. We're really just trying to get the soap around there. You don't need to be as particular as you were before about cleaning the wheels, getting dirt out of the crevices. We're just soaping it down. It's kind of like a dry run or a wet run. The title is now misleading. This is the bottle that I've prepared with about 14 ounces of water and almost a cap full of the Z7 soap. So this is going to be our lubricant. I'm going to go ahead and open a new Claybar. When you order this, it'll come with 2. I used the first one last year. This is a difficult one-handed procedure. So I think I'm just going to open a new one this year, start fresh. I put the old one in the bag, and here's what they actually look like, and it is legitimately a bar of clay. It's very malleable. As we go over the car, maybe after every body panel or so, we can keep kneading it. Keep this very lubricated. But the biggest thing with this thing is, do not drop it on whatever surface you're doing it on. I don't care how clean your garage is. Once you drop this, you're going to get pieces of sand, pieces of dirt, pieces of debris in there, and then you are just grinding that into your paint and clear coat. So don't do that. Make sure your hands are clean. Only let this thing touch your hands, your lubricant, and of course the car. Here is our Claybar. I've moved the car into the garage. The instructions say not to do it in direct sunlight on a hot surface. So I've actually put my door down just enough to keep most of the car out of the sun. May have to push it back as the sun goes down this afternoon, but I should be able to work with that. We're going to lubricate about a 3-foot square section at a time. I'm just going to start here on the hood, spray this on. This has a little bit of soap in it. Can be pretty liberal with this. And essentially, we're just going to take the Claybar and rub it over the surface until it's perfectly smooth. When you feel a rough spot, that's crap you're taking off. Have fun. The sun's moving, but I'm making pretty good progress. Got the hood done. If we get up here, we're going to see everything is streaking and drying and looking like hell, but it is very clean, and we are going to do another wash with ZAINO Z7 after we're finished with the Claybar. So I started with the hood. As you're rubbing it along the paint, keep lubricating different sections, going over it. If you notice, these are just pieces of trees or little bugs, but if you notice spots in the paint, little rust marks in the clear coat, tar from the road, stuff like that, go over it a couple times. Maybe hit that directly with some fluid, give it a little bit of pressure with the Claybar, and you will be able to get that out. And that's pretty easy on the hood. You're not going to have a lot of that. But once you get down here to this bottom part of the door below the trim, the rocker covers here, all of this is pretty bad. At least my car is, having been driven a couple thousand miles this winter. With all the salt, I took out a lot of little pieces of rust in the clear coat, and most everything I found came out with a little bit of rubbing and a little bit of specific attention on that spot. So keep that in mind. You can get out a lot of stuff that you thought was were scratches in the paint or just marks in the clear coat. You can get most of that out if you take the time and put the elbow grease in it. Anyways, I've gotten done with the entire hood. I'm immediately noticing, wow, look at that reflection. Wouldn't have been like that before. That doesn't even have any wax on it. Whole hood's done. Fender, driver's door, did the mirror. This half of the roof towards me, you will notice your hands will turn into prunes. The A pillar over the top, back to the C pillar. Both doors, the fender, and the top of the trunk lid. Usually last, I save the rear bumper and the back of the trunk here because that's the dirtiest spot on the car from all the carbon, even though it's been cleaned. I will do that last, but now I'm going to start on this side, work down, get the fender, and so forth. And I imagine this side will be just as bad. Probably got about an hour and a half on the other side. Well, it's about 6 o'clock, which means I'm around 3 hours in, and I think the car is clayed to my satisfaction. As you can see, I ended up using a preschool chair so I can sit down so I don't have to kill my back. Anyways, finished the rest of that up. I did not do the wheels. You can do the wheels. However, you're going to get brake dust in that in the Claybar, and then if you take that back to the paint, it's just a bad idea. I wouldn't recommend you do it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull these wheels off one by one over the next few weeks and totally detail them. I may make another video on that off the car and just do it right. So I'm just going to wash them now like I regularly would. So now that the car is clayed, you can see we've got streaks everywhere. The only bit of water is up on top. Oh yeah, looking good. So now it's time we just mix up another car wash soap, pretend we haven't washed the car already, and we'll do it again. But this time we can dry it afterwards. I'll definitely be able to tell better after I actually wash the car and dry it off so I get all these streaks out of here. But I think a lot of the little rust marks and the clear and all the imperfections in this car, it's always below here and down the rocker panel. It looks like all of that came out. So successful so far. Washed again with the Z7, rinsed off. You'll notice that the Claybar does take wax off as well. Maybe not to the extent that the dish soap in the first wash would have done, but I do notice now that it's all bubbled up like this instead of simply running off like a sheet of glass, but that's alright. Just makes the drying process a little bit more difficult, but we'll be reapplying the waxes soon, or for me tomorrow, because my back is about done. Anyways, now that it's washed with this, clay's done, I'm just going to go over and dry it off like I usually do. Keep in mind that the drying doesn't have to be perfect since we are going to apply waxes. Any water drops or streaks or anything that might make it through the drying process would be removed, but I am going to try to avoid that as usual. Alright, this is where we're going to leave it today. It's just been dried off after the wash, looking really nice for virtually no wax on it. It shines very well. It's not a good clear coat, I suppose. Did a pretty good job drying it inside the doors, all of that stuff. So tomorrow afternoon when I come out here, we will resume with, I'm not sure if I'm just going to do Z5 and then Z2 or Z2, Z5, Z2, but we will detail that process tomorrow. Thanks for watching today. What's up, guys? Welcome back to day 2. It is early afternoon here, and we're going to start with the Z2 application. Last night I actually came out here and did a Z5 application. I didn't film that because it's going to be the same procedure that I'm going to show you here with the Z2 in just a moment. So we do actually use the Z5 first simply because it's the same principle of using different sandpaper grits as you work, and you get to higher grit as you go. So the Z2 is going to be the last coat of wax I'm going to do for now. And I'm going to use the ZFX, which is here. It comes with 4 of these tubes and a vial of this accelerator here. The idea behind this is if you're going to put multiple coats of wax on at once, at least in one day, and if you're not going to wait for 24 hours, I mean, then you definitely want it to cure immediately, so you're not wasting the products. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this is a 2 milliliter vial, or 2 ounces. We're going to fill that up about halfway, put 1 ounce in here, and then 5 drops of this. If you're doing a large car, like something twice as large as a 5 Series, then you can fill this all the way up. That'll be 2 ounces, and then you can put in 10 drops. Using a Retina MacBook Pro as a cutting board here, we've got that about half full. I'm just going to go ahead and dump 5 drops, 4, 5 of the accelerator in there. We're going to shake that up very, very, very well for about 60 seconds, and then we can start applying that. Do that with the first coat of Z5 you do, as well as the second coat of the Z2. Now let me mention that after I did my coat of Z5 last night, I did go over the paint with ZAINO Z6. After I let it dry for about an hour, took the wax off with a clean cotton towel, then I did go over it with Z6. Reason being, everything said in the reviews that it kind of adds a 3D effect to it, so why not? Can't hurt. Extra wax is good. So we did that. Now we're going to add the Z2. I'll shake that up. Probably do another coat of the Z6, and then a final grand finale coat of, or Z8, I'm sorry, grand finale. Okay, we're about 45 minutes in with the Z2 and the concentrate mixed up in here. Pretty much it's like waxing anything you've ever done before. It's going to be impossible for me to do one-handed. I've done everything but the rear bumper, so I'm going to have to sit down on my floor and do the rear bumper now. Essentially, you're going to squirt out about a dime size on your applicator pad here, or whatever you're using. You can see mine's gotten a little grubby. I've been using it for 2 coats now, and pretty much put it on there. We're going to let it dry. According to ZAINO, the test to see if it's dry is find a spot where you can easily see the wax on the car, which is hard on a light colored car like this. Run your finger over it. If it smears around, it's obviously wet. If it comes off like and it looks perfectly smooth and glossy underneath, then it's ready to be taken off. Today is a little bit more humid than yesterday. I'll probably give it an hour to 2, maybe 3, not in a hurry. I'll take it off, then do that Z6 coat. I'll talk more about that later. We're ready for the Z8 application, which is essentially our grand finale. Actually, after the Z2, I did put on a coat of Z6. It's spray wax. It'll work the same way as the Z8, which I'm about to show you here. This is what they call grand finale spray seal. Definitely adds a little bit of shine, a little bit of extra gloss, and some protection over everything that we've already done. Like I've said before, I've used the Z6 in between each coat of Z2 and Z5 ZAINO wax. Just as kind of a buffer in between. So we're going to put the Z8 right on top of the Z6, and I'll show you how that works. One-handed operation here, not the best, but it'll do. This is our Z8. Guess we can shake it up a little bit. Of course, this needs to go on a clean surface. If there's any dust on here, it's never a good idea to wipe anything on your paint without lubrication, but I just saw literally 1 flake of dust. So we'll take an area of the hood here, maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet square, spray it down. There's 2 options with the spray. You can have it on a mist or a jet. I don't see a use for the jet. We're simply going to use the mist. Spray it on there a couple times. Get our towel, which really should be unfolded, but I'm not doing that. And then we kind of just wipe it in. We'll let it dry for maybe a few seconds. You don't want to let it smear and streak though. And then I always do this with 2 towels. This goes for the Z6 as well. So we get it on with that, and then we'll take my other one, which is missing. Let me get that. And quickly before it dries, we'll go over it with this and take out any parts that the original towel didn't. That way we kind of have a wet towel and a dry towel, the wet towel for applicating it, and this one for really taking it all off and leaving behind a perfect glass smooth, beautiful finish. This is what we're left with in about 45 minutes once you get all of that off, polished with a clean microfiber or whatever kind of towel you use. ZAINO does recommend that it's at least applicated with 100% cotton towel. They say white. I don't have one, so I happen to use an old green bath towel that's definitely clean. So before we end this video, I'm going to take the car out in the sun somewhere where it'll be in the shade, but it will be sunny outside, and we'll get some shots of reflection and whatnot. I'm not going to do that now since I have the sprinklers going. It'll get misted, and after all this work, that's not going to happen. I'm in about 24 hours now. The entire process, obviously not straight, took about 3 days to get everything done, but it is very time consuming. But what you're left with is such a beautiful finish. I mean, this is down here where most cars just go to hell from rust and stone chips and behind the front wheel. This car has 175,700 miles on it, and it looks like that. I like that. Well, now you're thinking, great, I just invested 24 hours of my life into making my car as perfect as it can possibly be. And now what happens when it gets dirty again? Do I have to do it again? Good news, the answer is no. Keeping the car clean from here on out, especially if this is on a car that isn't your daily driver, isn't a car that has to get up and go to work every day, no matter the weather conditions. And for me, this is simply now a car to drive around in the summer and go to the pool, go to a friend's house, or whatever I want to do with it. So it does not have to go out when it's bad weather. So once a week, instead of maybe washing the car, getting the whole thing wet, having to dry it off, open all the doors, all that fun stuff, now you get to use your Z6. That's the spray wax, the gloss enhancer that you can spray on, use as a lubricant while wiping the dust, road debris, dirt, pollen, whatever it may be off the car. Now, if you drive out in a huge rainstorm, you got mud all over the place, I wouldn't want to take the chance of smearing stuff in the paint, even with the Z6. I'd go ahead and wash the car and then apply a coat of Z6 and or Z8. Z2 and Z5 can be applied again over time. A few months go by, you want a renewed shine, renew some protection, you go ahead and apply that again. But really, once a week, even once every 2-3 weeks, once a month, who knows how much you drive the car, how dirty it gets. But when you do this, let's say, and you come back and you have 4 black marks of crap on top of the car, spray it down with the Z6, just like the Z8, and it'll look just like this again. Okay, here is our finished product. All the coats of wax were in about 24 hours. However, I've been very meticulous. Your results may vary. Just going to take a little walk around here, kind of give you an idea of what we've got. It's mostly sunny, about 90 degrees, so I'm going to make this quick, try to get inside. But we've got beautiful reflections now of everything, and it's not like this paint never reflected before. But now, in addition to feeling like glass and being well protected, it looks like that. You can see the top of my house in it. So I definitely recommend using ZAINO products. They're not incredibly cheap. You're going to be in maybe $100, $150 for everything you're going to need. However, that really should last you a year, 2 years, 3 years, of course, depending on how often you do it. You'll find that you use Z6 the most, since that's what you're going to use in between washes to keep the car clean. A little bit of spray wax if you get dust, if you get pollen on there. But it definitely looks really nice. Hope this video helped you guys out with the process. If you have any questions, comments, leave those below. And as usual, I'll get back to you, and I'll talk to you in another E39 Source video later on. Bye-bye.